Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Former Green Bay Packers offensive lineman signs with Steelers amid Aaron Rodgers rumors. Former Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers have been making headlines lately due to their reported negotiations for the 2025 NFL season. After being turned down by his former NFC North rivals, the Minnesota Vikings, the future Pro Football Hall of Famer seems to have set his sights on Pittsburgh as his next NFL team. That is, if he decides he wants to play at all. According to recent reports, Rodgers wants his next team to have a culture like that of the Packers. It appears that 2 years with the dysfunctional New York Jets have made him more appreciative of what he had going for him in Green Bay. In a move that likely has nothing to do with the ever-persistent Rodgers rumors, the Steelers have gone out and claimed former Packers offensive guard, Lecitus Smith. Tom Pelissero of NFL Network broke the news on X, formerly Twitter. Prior to trading for Rodgers in 2023, the Jets went out and signed wide receiver Allen Lazard and hired Nathaniel Hackett as their offensive coordinator. After they acquired the four-time NFL MVP, they also added Randall Cobb and Billy Turner. In 2024, New York acquired Davante Adams via trade with the Las Vegas Raiders. Smith, a sixth-round draft pick by the Arizona Cardinals in 2022, was not even with Green Bay while Rodgers was. The Packers had previously signed him on May 6 of last year. He spent the summer and training camp with Green Bay, but was cut when the roster was trimmed to 53. The Packers re-signed him to their practice squad immediately, but he was eventually signed away from them by the New England Patriots. He appeared in 8 games as a center for New England in 2024, starting one of those contests. Smith has also spent time on the practice squads of the Houston Texans and Philadelphia Eagles. For now, it appears that Pittsburgh claiming him off of waivers is nothing more than a depth move they would have made anyway, even if they were not trying to get Rodgers to sign with them. Pittsburgh Steelers pass rusher makes massive life announcement. Pittsburgh Steelers outside linebacker Julius Welschof announced his engagement over the weekend. Welschof revealed the happy news in an Instagram post. He and his fiancée, Amanda, met while they were at the University of Michigan. Welschof played football in Ann Arbor before heading to the NFL. Luckiest man in the world, Welschof said in the post. Welschof is the latest Steelers player to be engaged or married. Rookie linebacker, Peyton Wilson, got married in early March. Newly acquired wide receiver DK Metcalf proposed to his girlfriend, Normani, shortly before becoming a Steeler. A native of Maisbach, Germany, Welschof picked up football just 5 years ago, so he has not played much football. The Steelers initially wanted to bring him back on their practice squad, but it never came to fruition after Welschof suffered a knee injury in the final preseason game against the Detroit Lions. Welschof had 2 sacks in that game. He was re-signed in November and will return this offseason as a player with roster upside of the Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers' interest in quarterbacks has been dotted over multiple events the last few months. They took Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe out to dinner last week, and at least met with multiple others at the NFL Combine and Senior Bowl. Yet, there is only one player they met with multiple times and have brought to Pittsburgh for a visit thus far. That would be Louisville's Tyler Shaw, who the Steelers seem enamored with in the process. ESPN's Louis Riddick says he knows the Steelers are smitten with Shaw, who could be a top option on their draft board. Tyler Shaw has to be someone that's on their radar, Riddick said. He's someone who was on their initial top 30 visit list and someone who I know that they're kicking the tires on as they should. Riddick tack-ended with offensive coordinator Arthur Smith at the NFL Combine and said that people need to keep an eye on Shaw and the Steelers' interest in him. Does Pittsburgh trade down in the draft and maybe pick up a quarterback here late in the first round? Is a guy like Tyler Shaw, is that a guy that would be a perfect for this football team? Who has a big arm, lots of mobility? I was talking to Arthur Smith about him at the Combine. Keep an eye on this. Shaw might not get a first-round evaluation from the Steelers, but he is a name to watch for in their second-round selection. The Athletic's Dane Brugler praised Shaw's tools and ranked him as the fourth quarterback in this class, with Ole Miss's Jackson Dart coming in before him. However, Brugler noted that Shaw was a fast-receiving candidate and a dark horse to be the third guy off the board. Kirk Cousins seeking post-draft trade. After a failed attempt to be released ahead of free agency, Kirk Cousins is now in no rush to force a move out of Atlanta. He is planning to wait until after the draft before waiving his no-trade clause to facilitate a deal, per Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer. The Falcons held on to Cousins long enough for $10 million of his 2026 salary to vest into a full guarantee and have signaled their willingness to keep him as an expensive backup this season. He would prefer to find a starting job elsewhere, though he's wary of a repeat of last year's situation in Atlanta. The Falcons signed Cousins to a 4-year, $160 million deal in March and drafted Michael Penix with the 8th overall pick 6 weeks later. That put pressure on the 13-year veteran to live up to his contract while making it clear that he was not the team's long-term quarterback. When Cousins hit a patch of rough play in December, the Falcons benched him for Penix, effectively ending the 36-year-old's tenure in Atlanta after 14 games. In 2025, he doesn't want a highly drafted rookie breathing down his neck. That would be a risk with his two most likely suitors, the Browns and the Giants, who hold the 2nd and 3rd overall picks in April's draft. After years of instability under center, both teams have been repeatedly linked with the draft's top 2 quarterbacks, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Cousins' willingness to wait on a trade should work for his potential suitors. The Browns and the Giants can do their due diligence on Ward, Sanders, and even Jackson Dart and let the draft play out. The Steelers are considered a safe bet to land Aaron Rodgers, but if that doesn't work out, they could inquire about Cousins, according to Breer. However, Pittsburgh may want to see if a top quarterback falls within range of a trade up from the 21st overall pick. Cousins would only waive his no-trade clause prior to the draft if his new team commits to not using a first-round pick on quarterback, according to Breer. That condition may not be amenable to front offices in Cleveland and New York that are looking for a long-term franchise quarterback. It's possible that the Browns look at a talented roster besieged by injuries last year and decide that trading for Cousins and using the number 3 pick on an impact receiver or edge rusher is enough to compete in the AFC North. That doesn't seem likely for the Giants, who have more holes to fill on their roster. They have also signaled a desire to add another veteran and draft a quarterback in the first round, even after signing Jameis Winston. Cousins' approach does involve some risk. If the Browns, Giants, and Steelers all solidify their quarterback situations by the end of the draft, he may be left without any suitors headed into the summer. That would leave him stuck in Atlanta as Penix's backup with a $27.5 million salary that could be a barrier to a trade. The Falcons would already be absorbing $37.5 million in dead cap space, $12.5 million in 2025 and $25 million in 2026, if they moved Cousins. Eating some or all of his 2025 salary would push their costs to $90 million for just 1 year and 14 starts from Cousins, a position Falcons owner Arthur Blank would prefer to avoid, according to Breer. That will, of course, impact how much draft compensation teams will give up to acquire Cousins. A trade out of Atlanta to a team with a starting job available remains his desired outcome, but it seems other dominoes will have to fall first. And you, fan? What do you think about Kirk Cousins' situation? Write to us in the comments.